this is Brandon from Watches on You. Today we're going to be taking a look at 3 vintage Rolexes that just came in to JB Hudson Jewelers of Minneapolis, Minnesota. So, on the left, you see 2 vintage Rolexes from the early 19th century. And on the right, you see the Rolex Air King Big Size. And first, I'm going to start off just taking a look at the 2 early 19th century Rolexes. And these are very, very interesting in that they show basically the early foundations of the Rolex brand and, in fact, the early foundations of the wristwatch as a whole. So I'll start off with this one, and this is a very interesting watch. And just by analyzing kind of the case aspects of this watch, you can see it shares a lot of common details with pocket watches. Namely, its rounded case, and also the fact that both its dial and its case back can be screwed off simply by just unscrewing it. Now, this is well before waterproof watches, and I think it's very, very interesting to take a look at. So, the entirety of the watch is made out of German silver, which is why you can see that it's definitely tarnished. It's not actually damage or burn marks or anything. It's just tarnished. It's silver. And one thing that I like about this watch particularly is the dial. And you can see it has a beautiful porcelain dial with that red 12-hour mark. And in fact, one interesting thing about the dial is it's not actually marked with a brand. And this is obviously before Rolex became famous, because now you see their name on practically everything. But I think it's a very, very clean dial with a very classic look. It is a classic watch, so it's kind of expected. So now I'll take a look at the movement of this watch, and this is very, very different from a modern Rolex movement. Now, this watch has a hunter case back, as you can see. Or actually, not really a hunter case back. Well, it is a hunter case back. It's not in the modern sense of a hunter case back where you'd have another glass layer here. It's just to expose the movement, which is exactly like a hunter case back pocket watch. And the movement actually is very similar to that of a pocket watch as well. It's got a 15 jewel movement. And, the finishing is absolutely superb. It's very different from a modern Rolex, which is more finished in kind of a utilitarian way, with more brushing instead of this perlage where you see here. And you can even see it's got an engraved balance cock, which looks absolutely beautiful. So as you can see, the balance wheel is spinning away. It's still working after over practically 100 years, so it's very, very amazing. And one interesting thing about this watch is on the back of the case back, you can see that, sorry about the focus there, I'm going to switch it out of autofocus. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, it has the beautiful markings, and it actually has a marking that's W&D, and that stands for Wilsdorf and Davis, and that was actually the name of Hans Wilsdorf, who founded Rolex's watch company before he called it Rolex. But as you can also see, it's still marked Rolex over here, and it's just a very unique feature that shows Rolex, in its infancy. It's definitely a part of history, and it's very, very fascinating. So I'll close that one up. I'll take a look at the new one. And I actually prefer this one a little bit over the other watch, just because I think that black dial is really cool, and I love the hands. It has a very similar, dial layout. Obviously, you have the sub-dial there, and but just the contrast between the white and the black on the dial I think is really, really cool. So I will unscrew this case back. This one has this one's unscrewable on the case back and on the face of it, but as opposed to the other one, which obviously had that hunter case back. So I'll just unscrew it. And as you can see, it has very similar finishing to the other, but this is in a slightly larger size. It's got that beautiful perlage, just like the other one, and the engraved balance cock. It's also a 15 jewel movement, so again, very similar to the other one. And as you can see, this watch, again, it's very, very similar to what a pocket watch looks like, and that's because obviously wristwatches evolved from pocket watches, where they where they essentially soldered pins onto it and then put a strap on it. So I think that's cool. Obviously, this wasn't ever a pocket watch. This is an actual wristwatch, but you can see where they kind of got the inspiration from the pocket watch. So now I'll move on to this Air King. And this Air King is very, very interesting in that it actually is slightly larger than the normal Air King of this era. The normal Air King was 34 millimeters, and this one is 36 millimeters because it shares the 5504 case, which is also used by the original Explorer. So I think this is a very, very interesting watch in that, I mean, it shares the case. It's not the standard size for the model. So I definitely think in the future this might be a great investment piece. And obviously it's got those classic designs with the beautiful Oyster case. It's similar in design to a Datejust, but with obviously the Air King dial. And you can see it's got those very, very thin hands. I really like how just sharp they are and kind of harsh. I think that's really cool. And overall the condition is pretty good. I mean, obviously there's some scratches. It's from 1959, so that is to be expected. But it's very comfortable on the wrist, just like any vintage Datejust would be. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful watch. If you like this video, please remember to subscribe and share, and also check out our other videos if you're interested in maybe more modern watches or other vintage watches. We have a wide selection of videos, I think over 200 now, so definitely check those out. Thank you.